Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you guys how to make my famous Swiss meringue buttercream. It packs like a dream and it doesn't slide up your cake, and it is very smooth and silky and luxurious. It's not sweet as regular American buttercream, but this version I'm about to show you is foolproof and it works every time. Actually, I had some problems with it at first when I used to first make it, and I had to throw like several batches away before I found on a blog how to fix it. So today I'm going to show you guys how that works and how to use it. So let's get to it. So guys, I'm going to put everything you're going to need in the description box below. But the first thing we're going to do right now is we're going to clean the bowls. We're going to wipe them clean with vinegar, every bowl, because we don't want there to be any grease in our bowls. And then once you've done that, you have to separate the egg whites from the egg yolks, because we're going to make a meringue. And a meringue simply means you're whisking egg whites and sugar together to form a white thick paste. That's why it's called a Swiss meringue buttercream. So that's thick paste is what we're going to add butter to. But the first thing we have to do is create a meringue. And when you're creating a meringue, you have to make sure there is no form of egg yolk in your egg whites, otherwise it won't whisk well. So for this recipe, we need 6 egg whites and a cup of sugar. For every 6 egg whites, you need a cup of sugar. And what you want to do is you want to melt the sugar in the egg whites, and how you do that is by heating it and not heating it directly. Usually most people use like a double boiler, and a double boiler is a machine that has a bowl inside another bowl. That way your egg white is not like directly on top of the heat source. I'm sure you get me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a pan or maybe a pot on the heat source, and then I'm going to put our egg whites in a stainless steel bowl and then mix it and stir it until the sugar granules are all dissolved. At this point, what you're doing is you're pasteurizing your egg whites, and at the same time the heat is melting your sugar granules, because you don't want sugar granules in your Swiss meringue buttercream. This is a very important step. You can't skip it, because you are basically killing the bacteria in your egg white so that you don't give your clients bird flu or whatever kind of disease is in the egg whites. So pasteurization is basically heating a particular thing to a particular temperature where like the bacteria in it dies. So what we're doing right now is to pour the hot already pasteurized egg whites into the mixing bowl and turn it on to the lowest speed. So it is hot right now, so while it mixes, it will get cold with, you know, the more it mixes, the colder it gets. So right now I'm going to be wrapping my butter. And the trick to this buttercream is to let the buttercream tell you when to stop adding butter to your meringue. So usually I had a recipe I was using, and then once the butter finishes, I'm expecting the buttercream to come together. It wasn't coming together. It would always look like cottage cheese, and every time I threw it away, every single time I threw it away, and I felt like I was wasting my ingredients. Until one day I saw on a blog that let the buttercream tell you when to stop adding butter to it. So that day I just started making it the same process, the same way, the same method. I was making it and I told myself I would not stop adding butter until it comes together, and that was what I did. So the trick to this buttercream is to be able to make a good, well-formulated meringue, and then there is no amount of butter you can add. The buttercream tells you when to stop, and I'm going to show you how to stop so you don't use too much butter in your buttercream. So the length of time you're going to mix this for depends on what mixer you're using. Of course, it's going to take a longer time if you're using a hand mixer, and if you're using a stand mixer, depending on the size of your stand mixer, that's like determines the amount of time you're going to whisk it for. But I'm going to show you how it should be when you should stop. So it should take between 5 to 10-15 minutes depending on whatever mixer you're using. So I want you guys to notice right now that it is becoming frothy and very white, and as this goes on, you should increase your speed with time, because the faster it is, the faster your meringue will come together. You should notice right now that it is like having like ribbons that are not well formed. Like if you notice, they're like these lines, I don't know what to call them, but I think they're called ribbons that are not well like put together yet. But the more you mix, the more the structure of the meringue develops. And notice I'm increasing the speed, so just mix and mix and mix and mix and mix and mix. So you guys should notice that the V-bonds forming at this stage are more durable, which means they don't disappear the moment they are formed like the ones that formed before. And that's because the more you whip, the stiffer your meringue becomes. Some people call it a soft peak or a stiff peak. So I'm going to show you when and how to stop. Usually you should stop when the meringue forms a V-bond that doesn't disappear immediately. And I'm going to show you how to know that. So you should stop your mixer slowly. Don't stop it all at once, because you're going to reduce the lifespan of your mixer if you turn it off all at once. You should turn it off slowly, just the way you turn it on slowly. Do you get? It's like a baby. It's expensive, Okay, so now we're stopping the mixer, and I'm going to show you how the meringue should be before you add butter to it. It has to get to this point before you add butter to it. Notice the ribbons forming are not disappearing immediately. They last like a second or two before they disappear. This is the exact position you want to be at. It's important to note that your meringue has to get to this point before you start to add butter to it. Otherwise, you won't get the required result you're looking for. So the next thing we're going to do is to add butter to it in tiny bits. And you have to make sure your butter is at room temperature for you to get the best results. So what I usually do if my butter is still hard is to put it in the microwave for a few seconds and let it be soft enough, not liquidy, but soft enough for me to be able to cut and put in the mixing bowl one at a time. So the recipe I was using before called for 6 egg whites and 200 grams of sugar, and I think about 1,000 grams of butter. And 1,000 grams of butter is about 4 pieces of this butter that I use, because it's 250 grams per wrap. And usually I would do it and get to the point where I've added everything I'm supposed to add to the recipe, but for some reason the buttercream is not coming together. It looks like cottage cheese. And for a long time I did it 3-4 times before I realized that I can't continue like this. I'm wasting ingredients. So one day I read on a blog that usually egg whites have different compositions depending on where you are and depending on the kind of feed they give the chicken. So when you're making Swiss meringue buttercream, it is important you let the buttercream tell you when to stop adding butter. But for this recipe, I realized that for 6 egg whites, I use about 6 egg whites, a cup of sugar, and about 1,250 grams of butter. So if I had continued adding butter, then I wouldn't have wasted my ingredients so much. So guys, the trick here is to let the buttercream tell you when to stop. Regardless of which part of the world you are making your buttercream for, whatever it is you're feeding the eggs that the chicken that laid the eggs you're using to make your buttercream, regardless, just make sure the butter tells you when to stop. And I'm going to show you how. Notice right now it looks like spelt milk. Just don't worry, keep adding butter to it. I think this is the 5th one. Yeah, okay. So So guys, notice it is beginning to come together, and what I like to do is when it starts to come together like this, I like to melt the remaining parts of the butter in the microwave and then add it to it. It helps it come together even faster. So while it is cottage cheese like this, so I'm going to take the remaining part of the butter and melt it until it is buttery and liquidy, and then add to it, and then you're going to see how everything comes out perfect and beautiful and perfect again and beautiful. So now I'm going to add the melted butter to it, and then it's going to pull everything together and it'll be perfect. And we are here. So all you have to do at this point is add like a pinch of salt, and stir, and you have perfect buttercream. See how well it holds? It doesn't even fall off your spatula if you turn it upside down. That's how good it holds. So I'm going to show you guys how well it pipes. It pipes like an absolute dream. It's not as sweet as a regular Nigerian buttercream, but it is perfect. It is luxurious, and it is good for your health because it is made up of good quality butter, just a little sugar and some egg whites. It's not just ice and sugar and butter. So perfect. I hope you guys learned a lot, and if you have any questions, just send it to me in the comment section below. And it was so much fun talking to you guys and teaching you how to make my perfect buttercream. I'll see you in my next video.